taking the leap and starting a company, which is really, really scary. It's not the same for everyone. There is no algorithm. Everyone has a different journey. Good afternoon. It's so good to talk to you again. This is a very exciting thing for us to be able to do. And we're so new to this. We've never done anything like this before. We're learning to work together and talk things through, and all the time as we're doing stuff, it can be a little bit of a growth thing. It could be sometimes a little bit of a challenge can be presented. But I think overall we've been able to overcome everything and just be really good. So I'm excited for this. We're
Me
doing
too.
really good.
All right, what do you mean by taking the leap?
So taking the leap, this is taking the leap and starting a company, starting our own business, which is really, really scary. Definitely, it's not the same for everyone. There is no algorithm, or there's no do this plus this and then this is going to equal this and all the success, right? It's different for everyone. Everyone has a different journey. And so what we're doing is we're sharing ours.
Do you think one day we will look at these episodes and say, remember how poor we were?
Remember when we built this all ourselves?
Exactly.
We used the do what you can and use what you have method.
I'm proud of what we accomplished. I mean, this garage, if you're looking at these images right now, if you're watching this and you see where we are, and if you can imagine that this was an ugly garage.
Yes, it really was bad in here. And now I would say this is probably my favorite space in the entire house.
I agree. Yeah. And we've also did some legway on the next set.
Yes.
The second set, which is also hopefully by the time this video is edited, we can put some pictures of how the set looks like. And now we have 2 professional grade podcast sets. Mm-hmm. I don't know, what do you guys think? You're going to be seeing the photos, and you're watching right now the setup. Do you think this is professional grade? And do you have any comments on how we can make it better? Obviously, none of us is an interior designer or have the budget to hire an interior designer. So we basically winged this whole thing.
We did it with our 2 hands.
and a lot of Amazon shopping.
Right?
Yeah.
Whatever we could budget for, we did. Mm-hmm. And we repurposed a lot of our chess sets. Naja and I are really big on chess. Actually, that's how you and I met through.
Exactly.
Because I saw that you liked chess and you had a chess group. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, let me be friends with this person.
So, but tell the audience what we're doing. What is this? Why would you convert your garage instead of parking your car to a high-end podcast studio? Why? Right. What's the rationale behind it?
The reason that we're doing this, and I know that we've shared a little bit in the past podcasts, but we're doing this because we have a digital ad agency or digital ad business that we are working on marketing, and we've had a crazy amount of clients. So we've had some clients where we are able to promote our clients' businesses. Right. This is all about we want to start a business. We wanted to start a business. Starting a business is so hard. It's not until you're winning or it's not until you've succeeded that people want to jump on board because they're aware of your brand. What you do is you help to bring exposure to companies that are actually working hard, that have something of value to provide, but that need that extra push into the outside world. People who don't know how to do marketing for their businesses. People who only know, whether if they're a chef and they started a restaurant, or they're a lawyer and they're starting their own agency. They don't know how to market themselves. They don't know where to begin, and it can be such an overwhelming process. It is an overwhelming process. And so this is where we come in. We come in to understand how they want their brand to look like. And then we take that, run with it, and we are very strategic as to who to share their brand with, so they could get the most amount for their money. And also so they could get the type of clients that they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, if you're studying for law school, you want to become a lawyer, 99% of your courses are dedicated to the law, to studying the law, to practice the law, to understand the ins and out of your practice. Similarly, dentist. My sister is a doctor. Same thing. Like they study years and years into the field that they're in. However, when they decided to venture on their own, to open their own clinic, all of a sudden they're no longer the doctor and the lawyer and stuff. They become a business owner.
Right.
And a business ownership has a complete different set of skills that they need overnight to learn about, master.
Yes.
Otherwise, they will lose a ton of money. Funny story for you. I was volunteering for the Rotary Club for the career day. You know, in the career day, they take these kids from one classroom after the other. Each classroom has one profession. So they bring a firefighter, and this firefighter will tell the students, what is it like to be a firefighter? And then they bring doctors, lawyers, etc. One of the sessions that kind of stuck with me was a dentist. And this is something that is really important to pay attention to, because for me, I was like, what? So that dentist tells his story to the kids. He said, I went to med school. I had my medical practice as a dentist. And then I started working for other people. And then he started working on like a travel dentist or something, like where he goes from one place to another to do dentistry.
Similarly, like a traveling nurse.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was cashing around $300,000 from just being employed or just traveling nurse or doing some overtime and stuff. When he opened his own clinic, he doesn't take home six figures. He doesn't take home 100K anymore. Isn't that interesting?
It's interesting, and it can be so disheartening.
Very disheartening. And then the amount of work is doubled or tripled, not even.
And you hear time and again that, this is why people want to have their own businesses, because they think that, I open my business, I could have my own hours and I can be flexible and, I can have better work-life balance. I can tell you that from watching you, that's not really the case.
Yeah.
You wear so many different hats. Sometimes you even lose the hats, one of the hats that you're trying to have or that you're trying to wear, because there's too many to rotate through.
Exactly.
It's so much work. It's so much work.
Yeah. So we were talking about like where we come in and why we're building a podcast studio. So I was explaining that this dentist guy, he was working, he's not having his own business, and he was making much more money than when he started doing his business. And the reason is because most of your money, you open up shop, and if you don't have enough customers to fill the slots, you have to have a calendar full in California to make it in the business world. If you have 2-3 customers a day and your employees are sitting and waiting for a customer playing games on their phones, that's a sign that you're losing money, because you're paying the time for these employees and you're not getting enough customers, enough revenue to fill in your calendar so that you have some profit, you have profits coming in. So what happens that a lot of these business owners start their businesses and then they feel stuck. All of a sudden, there's so much pressure on them to bring in customers, and they don't have the skills. They don't know how to go about marketing. You mean the word marketing probably is intimidating to them. Probably they hate marketers. We talked about how, the perception of marketing is in the world. A lot of people go to med school not to become a marketer.
Right.
But the funny part is that this is exactly what you should become. You're no longer a lawyer when you open a law firm. You're no longer a dentist when you open a dentist clinic. You become a business owner. That means that you are the chief finance officer. You have to be aware about your numbers. You have to be a great person to deal with employees. So you have to have a great human resources skills. You have to deal with operations, project management. You have to deal with IT and cybersecurity and all of that stuff. And most importantly, you have to bring in customers because everybody in your staff rely on you to bring those customers in the door. And if you're not good at marketing, you're not going to bring customers, so your business is going to fail.
Right.
And you're going to lose a lot of money in the process.
That is so true.
And that's when we come in as Paris Lab, as a digital marketing agency. And the reason why we're going into digital is because marketing follows where consumer attention is. So
And everything is online now.
everything is online now. So if you're selling a product and you're not on Amazon or you're not on eBay or not on Facebook Marketplace or you're not on Whatnot, which is the new platform, or TikTok shopping or X shopping, live shoppings, this is becoming a trend. So if you have a product you're selling and you're relying on people coming to your store, forget about that. You have to be on these platforms to be able to sell. And similarly, if you're selling a service or something that is different and you're not on social media, engaging with your audience, telling them about yourself, therefore, as well, you're not going to be able to have people know about you.
Exactly. People need help. People need help to really be successful and to keep that passion that they had when they first started. There's so many business owners out there who are just tired. They're tired because they did not foresee what the future of having a business would look like. They didn't realize or understand how much work it actually takes. To your point, this is why they need you. But a lot of people are afraid to trust, right? If we bring somebody in where we're already struggling, why should I do that? Why can't I just try to do it myself? For you, Naja, I want to know from you, why should they trust you over any other marketing agency that's out there?
Yeah. So people do business with people they know, like, and trust. This trio makes business smooth and work well and beneficial to all parties involved. Know, like, and trust are my definition for a brand. And then you're asking me about trust. And trust is a beautiful word. Trust is a combination of integrity and credibility. So integrity meaning that you have to be a good human being. You have to treat people the way you would like to be treated. You have to be fair. You have to be honest. You have to be humble. And if you make a mistake, admit that you made a mistake. Not try to devious ways to cover it up, right?
Right.
So there are elements that construct integrity, moral values. If something you don't deserve charging for, you shouldn't be charging for. Nobody knows that, but you judge yourself, like it's your relationship with yourself. And that component is the integrity part that is very important. And then the second one is the credibility, your track record. Do you have history of delivering on results? Have you done this before? Do you know what you're doing, right? Are you knowledgeable in the technical aspects? Do you understand on the deeper level of how Facebook ads work? Do you understand at the deeper level of how consumer behavior work, how people react? And you have to stay on the pulse of society and pop culture and the people. You have to understand people. This is essentially what marketing is. To trust someone, it has to be based on these two elements, the integrity and the credibility. And a great example to demonstrate what I'm talking about, let's say you have a medical problem and you went to a doctor. This doctor is known for not being honest, is known for not being moral by any means, yet he has the highest qualifications. He's graduating from Harvard, all the good degrees, all the good, he drives a beautiful car and has a beautiful house. So all of the ingredients are there in terms of expertise. But you know that he's not honest. He doesn't have moral standards. Would you let them operate on you?
No.
Exactly.
I would not.
Why? Because there's an element of trust there.
No, and not only that, it's he he would probably make an unethical decision based off of what was best for him. So
Exactly.
the thought of that alone makes me very weary, and I would not want to be passed out on his table knowing that there's always a possibility
Yeah.
with him mishandling my life.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't go to that kind of doctor. Let me flip it for you now. Imagine you found the most honest, moral, great human being doctor, but he doesn't have the skills and expertise to operate. In fact, many people have died under his surgery before. Would you trust that doctor?
No.
Exactly.
No, absolutely not.
So trust is that beautiful word that is kind of hanging on two legs. Without one leg, it's gone. And that's the expertise, the credibility that your ability to perform the thing, and the integrity and the moral values that you hold as a human being. Again, in the end of the day, it's up to the people to judge because it's all about perception. But I hold myself on a strict principles and values that I operate on. And it's not because like I'm a noble kind of guy or anything like that. Although I love to associate myself with nobility and to be known, to have the reputation of someone who has been a noble person, right? But there's also a practical incentive for being honest and taking care of your integrity, right? Like honesty and you do the right thing.
Right.
The practical element for why it's important because it backfires if you're not. Like if you say a little lie to someone, right?
And they find out.
And they find out, like you lost it.
Yeah.
It's not even worth it. Yeah, and back to the original question of the whole conversation,
Oh.
the studio, like how does the studio work, right? Like what is the idea to have a podcast studio? And the answer is simple. People's attention is online. You follow the attention. Gary Vee has a book called Day Trading Attention. That's what marketing is. If you're in the stock market, there is a concept called day trading and there's long-term investment. This morning, Apple stock is up 1%. I sell. And then in the evening, the Apple stock goes back down under its average for like 0.1, and then you buy. And then 10 minutes later, it goes up, and then you sell. That's day trading, right? And people make money using day trading with the stock market, right? It's a little bit stressful, but that's their job. It becomes a job. So Gary Vee, in his books, Day Trading Attention, says that marketing is exactly that. Every day, we are day trading the attention of our customers, our audience. The more we capture from that attention, the more we're more successful as marketers. What we do is day trading attention. So right now, the attention of the people is on the social media, on the internet, in their mobile device. This is when, and it's not like we don't have to go and do research to prove that. It's just that, every day we are kind of slaves to that little thing, right? Like we are in the bathroom, we are scrolling. Any moment that we don't have to either work or eat or sleep, we are pretty much on our phones, aren't
Right.
we? And so this is where marketing has to play. This is the area where we gotta play. And from that, we look at, okay, either a service provider or someone who's selling a product and service. And we see, okay, your customers are online and we need a share of their attention to go to you. Okay, let's say this is the client, the service that they sell, and this is the whole thing is the sea of customer attention. They're not paying attention to you right now because you're not on social media. Now, as soon as, like, I think our goal, ultimately our vision as Parrots Lab is to allow our clients to dip their feet and probably gain a lot of from that ocean of attention But not only that, the right ocean of attention, right?
Right.
So if you're selling insurance for companies, I'm not going to make you famous among teenagers, right? Like it doesn't
Right.
make sense. There's a mismatch. So in the game, in the ocean of business owners and the business and your ideal customer profile, I want you to gain some of that attention. And ultimately with that, you win the game of marketing, because then a lot of people looking at you and you have a decent product and service, you're not a complete scam, then a lot of them are going to buy eventually. So this is the idea. And so how to gain attention online? Now you have to be present on social media. You have to create content on social media. Everybody's talking about content. Okay. The problem is that it's very competitive space. Everybody's creating
Very
content.
saturated. Yes.
Super saturated. Back in the days when social media just started, our clients used to hire us to design posts, static posts. So we will go and we design an image and we put it there on social media. And the image gets a lot of attention back then. Now, if you put images there, I mean, no matter almost what you do, it's so hard to gain the attention of the scrollers. The image is passed by really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's one dimensional. It's like flat thing.
Right.
But the video is three-dimensional. Imagine for the price of the same second, again, I'm counting in the currency of time, which is the most valuable asset out there.
Yes.
In the price of seconds, the return on investment when you look at an image is one dimension, which is the flat surface of the phone. But from that same second, you can get audio, words, you can get visual, you can get music, you can get sound effects and all of the glory of video. So which one gives you the more return? And I think, the answer is quite obvious, that the video is more engaging, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you can do much more than with a flat design.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of the designs are really cool, especially these latest AI generated art. I mean, they're beautiful, but no matter what, the video always has an edge.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel my duty right now with the businesses I work with is to help them create video. And the reason why I chose that space is because I have a ton of experience in video.
Right.
And I've always been fascinated by cameras and screens and all of that.
This is a full circle moment. And sorry, I'm taking it out of what you're talking about, but I remember you telling me how you started off when you were back in Lebanon your very first job ever was as a wedding photographer, where you were taking pictures of everything and everyone. And and then you went and you did your life, you did all this marketing and everything. And now look at you yes, you're doing marketing, but you're focusing on videos. You're focusing on telling business owners stories. You're focusing on the why behind everything for them. So it could make viewers follow businesses, not solely on what they have to sell or the things that they provide, but on the reasons behind why they do it. And I think it was Simon Sinek who said something about that, like the starting with why. People follow a brand, or people stay loyal to a brand, not just because of what they sell. Anybody can sell, what are those ugly shoes called? Crocs. Ugh, those are awful shoes, sorry. But
it's so funny that we agree on that.
yes.
Wholeheartedly. I've never liked them.
You will never catch me with Crocs on. But those shoes, they have a whole following of them, and there's people, it's almost like a cult thing where people follow them and they wear them and they buy these charms for them, and they have so many add-on and all these things, but it's not about the shoes, and it's not about how comfortable or how ugly they make your feet look, right? It's about the brand. It's about the why behind it. And there's a type of person or a type of stereotype or a type of like care to the brand that is associated with it that makes it much more than just the shoe. It makes it all about the type of person that people want to be.
Exactly. It talks to their aspirations. Yeah, it came to me full circle. I was in my teenager time. I was still at school, and during summer breaks, my dad has a studio owner friend, and he would send me to help them, shoot weddings, videographer and photography. But the photography was assigned to the studio owner. He's like the elite photographer. He's the only one who's allowed to touch the photo camera.
Oh.
Yeah, and the video was the kind of the second level, and I was not the one on the camera for the most part. If I get sometimes I get chances to get behind the camera, just for you to know, we were talking about this VHS tapes camera. Like the camera is like the size of that much, and then you put it on your shoulder, and it has like a handle, and then you zoom in and zoom out, and then you're like following it. It's pretty cool. I was fascinated by that camera, and I saved a lot of money, and then my parents also brought me one. And yeah, so I've been involved in these cameras when I was a teenager, but then completely fast forward until I graduated and started working at Leo Burnett. And then we were shooting TVCs, TV commercials back then. And each TV commercial, like, it costs like $500,000.
That's insane.
Each TV commercial, yeah. Especially I was working for a telecom brand, so the budgets are pretty limitless. So we were shooting like high-end stuff, 50 millimeter lens tape, cinema tape. So there are some cameras to film that cinematic feel. They film still on tapes. They're not even digital. Back then they were very popular. I don't know nowadays. Probably they don't use this kind of cameras anymore. Yeah, we use, and this is such an expensive thing to do. And then they used to fly directors from France because we looked at their show reel and it matches the brand identity of these companies that we were working for. And then we have a shooting day where the crew, the makeup, the wardrobe, there are wardrobe specialists, there are makeup specialists, there are props, there are sometimes we create scenes out of nothing. So we were shooting one ad for American Express, and in the storyboard of the ad, there was a scene where the mom and her daughter are looking at a lake, right? The problem is, it was in Saudi Arabia and there's no lake. Right? Like we couldn't find a lake.
There's no lake in Saudi Arabia?
There are, but not in reasonable distance from us. And they don't look great, right? So it depends. You gotta find a good scene. And I remember we rented that huge ranch to shoot this ad. And then the production house handling it looked at there was a little kind of bend of the land underneath that balcony where the mom's gonna be looking at the lake. So they constructed a lake. They built a lake.
Wait, they constructed it? So there was no green screen or anything like that?
No. They built an actual, they put this thick material, the waterproof material. Kind of they created like a mini pool.
Wow.
They created the whole thing, and then they made a bunch of smoke from the borders of the lake. So now, you don't see the border. So they blow it up with smoke. So that it's kind of like, these times when the lake is foggy.
Right.
So that is the feel. And then we shot that scene and it's beautiful. And you wouldn't be able to tell that this is not a lake.
No, wait. Would you be able to find it?
I think so. I
That
could probably
so
find
cool.
it. So, yeah. So my love for cameras, and the CGIs and all of that. Now computers can create a lot of things. Remember that movie we were watching, and in the last of the movie, they show how they build the movie.
Right.
Right. And it's all like 3D animations and stuff. Pretty fascinating stuff. No, but I think there is a lot of love and appreciation for the camera in my mind. And the camera does great things. I mean, it documents like what we're doing right now. It's documenting that moment of time. Kind of, it freezes time to that moment to witness what happened at that particular time. So
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. Like
yeah,
it definitely it sounds like a blast from the past. Like every year things keep, growing and changing and becoming better and more streamlined. But like back then, the things that companies would do to like make things and to make things happen. How interesting. All for brand identity. So tell me a little bit about how you do that with your business, right? You told me earlier that companies will bring in their directors and show them what it is that they're working on to ensure that it's aligned with the brand identity. How do you do that within your business?
yeah. So back in the day, the reason why we used to shoot TV commercials because we can invest a lot of money in one video and then we give it to the TV stations and they bombard the heck out of people with that video, right? So that was the advertising world.
Right.
That how it's constructed. You create a great video in your eyes. It's subjective, by the way. People may hate the video, but in the eyes of the experts, us as the marketing people, the agency, in the eyes of the client who approved that TVC, in the eyes of these people, this video is good, then it's good. I remember the media buying company was one floor above. So we would work hard to scramble to meet the deadline for the TV to air the video that we created. And then we prepare I remember the CDs. We used to give them on CDs. I prepared the DVDs, put them on a DVD, put them in an envelope, write down like this is 30-second commercial for version 1. And then I will go upstairs and hand them over to the media buying so that they can air the TV. So the reason why I'm telling that story is that that's to see how time has completely changed. Back in the time, the attention of the people was on television. Now the attention kind of switched to social media, right? So there's no more attention to TV. But social media is a different beast. Social media, you need to it's like day to day. Like you cannot spend 500,000 and then you're scrolled out and then you're done. I mean, unless you have to keep pushing that video with media buying, the algorithm is not gonna blow it up. And I mean, maybe I might change my mind on that at some point, just because if the video is that good. But in general, even if you produce great quality videos, you cannot spend a lot of money on them because the age of that video dies quickly, basically. So you create a video, but then you need to create another one in 2 weeks and then another one in 2 weeks.
Because people don't want to keep seeing the same video.
Yeah.
And then they won't watch it. They'll scroll up.
Exactly. They are tired of it. So the lifespan of a video right now is very short, and it doesn't make sense to spend all of that money into that video. And so the social media part is a beast that you need to feed with a lot of videos. So what is the best way to create video content is by conversations like these, in my mind, especially for high-ticket professional services or high-ticket businesses where the consumer behind the screen is doing a lot of research.
So explain how you help the client with those two.
Right. So when I meet a client, first of all, I need to understand what they do and who they are and what is their zone of genius. So every person has a zone of genius. Like right now, okay, we own Parrots Lab, a digital marketing company. What is our zone of genius? It's clearly video. It's clearly the podcast style video. We created a whole damn studio for it. Why? Because that's a zone of genius for Parrots Lab, which is a digital marketing agency that sets it apart from all other digital marketing agencies out there.
Right. It's like you can still do all those other ones, but this is like what you master at. This
Yeah,
is
this
what
is
only you are able to provide that nobody else can.
exactly.
Got it.
So I try to highlight the same zone of genius than I have with this client and that client and this client, right? So if I had a chef who's client and he told me like I told him like what people say that you do so well. And then he said mac and cheese. I said, okay, great. So this is your line. This is where we're gonna focus on. Can leverage your zone of genius. Don't hide it. Everyone has this genius identity or could be like a deep interest in the topic that allowed you to learn a little bit more than the others in your area, stuff like that. And then leveraging that would formulate the brand identity. We formulate it around that. Because then let's say we highlight that video is our zone of genius. Now, who's interested in video? And now you can find your customer by that process, the process of starting with the zone of genius of that person and then going, okay, who's going to be interested in buying your zone of genius? Because people are buying what you do. They're not necessarily like interested in you as a I mean, of course, the human factor is important, the relationship, but in the end of the day, it's a transaction of value. Like you give me value, I give you money, right? This is what business is. And so if you have a zone of genius, now we need to find a customer for it. Otherwise, I mean, some people have zone of genius that either the customer is not good for it or you cannot find a customer for your zone of genius, right? Or the market condition is not promoting that. So that I start with the zone of genius because in the end of the day we need to and then we find the ideal customer profile, and then the messaging is to bridging the gaps. This is your ideal customer, and this is your zone of genius.
It's like you have a little lamp in front of someone, and they're like they're telling you where you want to go, and you're helping them to guide them, but you're not doing everything for them. You're really just trying to get the message of where they're wanting to go, who they're wanting to work with, and kind of help guide them in the right direction in a way that is easy.
Exactly. Absolutely. I feel this is kind of my role in how to communicate the strategy of what we do. And I think, one of the biggest elements for, let's say, the majority of our clients are that the head of the business, the owner, is an integral part of the business. And so that's what this podcast studio is about. That's why investing in a podcast studio makes sense. And the reason why is that the human being behind the company is becoming more and more the differentiator. Just the fact that Diana is at the helm of this company, you might do exactly what Peter and Joe do, but I like you. I want to work with you. And that becomes a factor in getting business. And what this does is leveraging that on a scale. Because when you attend a networking party, you're mingling with people and they know you. But how many people have you touched? 10, 20, 30 if you're so popular? But if you create a video, a conversation where people are getting to know you as they're driving their car to work, you've spent an hour with that person as they're driving.
And now you've touched hundreds.
And you've touched hundreds of people. And so it is a no-brainer that this is a powerful medium.
Yes.
Let alone it allow us to also create content.
Honestly, I love what you're doing. And this is why I found it so valuable. You are working your tail off every day. And you are experimenting. And it's cool to watch. It's very cool to watch. And so I think one thing that we can share and one thing that I hope that everybody leaves with today is, that it's okay to not have all the answers, and still take that leap. We learn as we go through it. Actually, that's the best way to learn, right? The best way to learn is to just take the first step and do it. And then, and you'll continue growing that way. You'll continue experiencing. You can read all you want, right? But if you don't do anything about it, then all it is just reading. It's not actions. So I'm excited for us to learn more together.
Absolutely. So the last thing I want to share with you is what you were talking about growing. So do you know that the tree grows in two directions at the same time? So think about that seed of the tree. You put it in the ground, and first, under the ground, it has to push through the dirt to find its way to get rooted, right? So it has to grow against the odds. It has to break through
the soil and
dirt.
the rocks and
Exactly.
all of the tough stuff that is down there.
And all of that is happening in the dark. Nobody's seeing the struggle of that seed, right? That's what business ownership is. Struggle under the ground that nobody's looking at, nobody's seeing. And then finally, the seed pops up from the ground. And then it has no resistance. It's in the air.
It's starting to grow.
It starts to grow. And when people look at that, they only look at the growth above the ground and how beautiful. Look how tall my tree is and how sweet my fruit is. But nobody knows the struggle under the ground, in the dark, tirelessly to have the roots break through the dirt so that it builds that beautiful thing we call tree today.
Wow.
And that is business ownership. If it was easy, then everybody is doing it, which will reduce its importance. And by the way, we're not there yet. Like, we haven't made it completely. It's the process.
We haven't even gotten to anywhere near where we want to be.
Absolutely.
We're still so new, but we finally got into a point where we're like, maybe we're going to survive.
Yes.
Maybe.
We're doing good this month, better than last month.
Exactly. And that's all that we can ask for. That's all that we can pray for. And personally, I have to say, I'm so proud. I'm so proud just the fact that we have gotten people to trust us. We have gotten people to buy into us because of your expertise, who you are, you showing up, going above and beyond, all of these different factors, right? But it took time. It's taken a lot of time. It's taken a lot of, grit and hard days, and you holding up, right? And not doing anything, choosing to not go and have a good, fun day, and instead struggling. And it's through those struggles that you've grown. And this is exactly why we're sharing it with everybody else, so that they don't feel that they're alone. So they don't feel like I'm the only one who's not going to get to go to that birthday party because I have a business and I'm the only one that's sucking and going through this mess right now. You're not the only one. We're doing it too.
But it also doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to feel bad. Because I really enjoy working.
I know, but sometimes people don't enjoy it.
Yes.
There's moments, a lot of aspects, and we have to be realistic about it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of aspects that you have not enjoyed.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot.
So we have to be very honest about that too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, in the big picture, you do enjoy it. That's why you're doing it. But there's a lot of things within that big picture where if you look in and you zoom in,
yeah,
those were not fun times.
Yeah, there are some tasks that I don't like doing, but I kind of have to do.
And there are some tasks that you did not know how to do and you had to learn
Exactly.
from scratch.
Oh, yes.
Right?
And there are difficult people that you have to deal with that can stress you out.
Yes, that can ruin your whole day.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we have to speak to, because yes, there's great things about being a business owner.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But there's a lot of hard stuff. There's a lot of going through the suck, right? And that's what we're telling people. You're not alone in that, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
I
So
love it.
episode 2, check.
We're